The Bunker King Control 2 hopper. They have a box, and that's kind of cool, actually. It's like, you know, marked as the size. Yep. I really like this box because they actually put foam. The packaging is really good. It's like an inexpensive package, so it's not like stupidly expensive packaging for no reason. You know, it's like, I don't know, where the old Virtue boxes are crazy. I don't know. It's like, this is the Spire 5 box, you know, and it's just like a very expensive, like, box that there's no real reason for. So packaging's cheaper. I don't know if that's really a good consumer feature or not, but it's cheaper. So the original Control didn't come with a speed feed. And these are actually coming now with their Enter speed feeds. That, I don't know, you know, I was looking at this and I wondered to myself, is Virtue making these speed feeds on purpose to sell more speed feeds? Because I was like, you know what? I really like these speed feeds. Those SF ones, they have those acrylic fingers. Literally never had a problem with those. And they're like impossible to break, you know? I mean, you could, you know, snap it off if you want. But it's not going to wear out. Whereas these, like rubber ones, you know, they're just rubber. So you can like see it just bend so easy that they're just going to break. So are they like selling that? Are they making these to sell them quicker? I was wondering that. They do come with a few extra, though, in the box, which is a nice thing. So let's see. What do we have here? These are the... I want to look at make sure we cover, like, all the new stuff. I'm going to move that a little bit. Control 2. So I would say that one of the biggest problems with the original Control was probably these shells, right? If we grab the original Control 2, you can squeeze it. See how I can make a gap in this right here? Like, that's not, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but that's not really good. You know, and the shells were just, I don't want to say cheap, but they're just very thin. I think they were trying to make these things extremely light and small, which they did, but also at the same time, they kind of made them maybe a little bit too light, and they're just not as solid feeling as other hoppers. It's never happened to me, but certainly this tab could pull up and then the whole thing could explode, and you get this thing, you get the tray flying all over. So it was probably its biggest weakness, I would say, were the shells. So with the Control, they've kind of done two things, right? I can even kind of feel that weight difference a little bit. And it's a little bit taller because these do have that 220 shell. You can see that 20 on the back. It does have a little bit higher capacity than the 200 original Control. But they've kind of redone these shells up a little bit, right? They've made it thicker on the bottom, so it's a little bit more robust on the bottom part of the shell. You can kind of see even that it's a little bit, certainly a little bit thicker right here. That piece isn't even on the original Control. So that whole bottom shell is thicker. So we aren't going to have as big of a problem as those shells opening up, but they still do. I mean, you can kind of see through there to see that light. That's not a big problem, I don't think, though. So having that shell thicker just makes it feel a little bit more robust. It also makes that latch certainly harder to pull up. And then this tray doesn't just pull out anymore with magnets like the original Control. You actually have to pull that lever forward, and then that whole tray comes out. And it's kind of going to be similar in there. I mean, it's not a dramatic difference. We still have those iSystem 3 eyes on the bottom. It's still going to take AA batteries. They have moved that button to the rear, though, I should say. So now that button's just on the back. So you want to turn that hopper on, it's just on the back, whereas before it was on the bottom. It's just really weird. When it's on your gun, you kind of got to like reach under there and push the button. It's very odd. The biggest probably change, though, is going to be that drive cone. So now you actually have to unscrew with that little screw to get, I don't know, maybe they're not calling it drive cone anymore because it's not really a cone. But, to get this drive tray spinner thing off, and if we compare it to the old or original control, it's considerably different in there. I mean, it's like, you know, quite a bit different, although it's not at the same time, right? It's just kind of redesigned where the motor sits and how that cone mounts. I turned it on, I guess. Going wild. So they just kind of changed how that cone mounts. And you can see, I mean, obviously right away, right? If we put this back in there, just how much smaller it is on the side. So it's going to be able to hopefully hold a little bit of paint a little better now too. And you can see I don't have my spring ramps in there because I just never got them. I never bought the things. The Control 2 is now going to come with those. So that's about all, really. I mean, they've you know, added some other stuff too. Those you can actually clean. A little bit wacky. You can actually clean. You can actually take out this eye insert piece that, like, you know, goes over the eyes, which I don't really understand why. I mean, they say it's so you can, like, clean it or some shit, but, like, I don't know why you'd. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But it's crazy, you know. When I originally saw these, I first thought, and I was like, man, look at the electronics. Like, it's just that teeny electronics board. Let's like super zoom. It's just that really small electronic board, which is just kind of crazy, right? I mean, look at the size difference just a few years ago. It's like, look at how big the electronics are on the old Hopper compared to the Control 2. It's just wild how different and how much smaller all of those internals are. So I think it's good. I mean, I think it's a worthy, we'll say, upgrade to the Control 2. I mean, if you have a Control or like a Spire 4 or something like that, by no means do you need it. See, this is the part I don't really like, this little screw. I really don't like how it's reverse thread either. It's so difficult to put on for me. It's not like you're gonna take that off ever in the games, but there's still something about, you know, having completely be toolless, but you got that little like screw right there, which concerns me a little bit. So one thing I wanted to do was put this thing on a gun and actually see like how stable it is, because like I was saying, the shells on the original Control were so thin that, man, let's just grab this. Since the shells were so thin, I mean, one of the problems was I just didn't like the way it felt like on my gun, right? Because it moved so much. It's like, look at that. Like, that's just crazy, you know? Like, it shifts around so much. I don't like that. You know, I don't like how it's like all movie so much. Is this thing any better? God, yeah, it is. I mean, you can obviously still move the freaking Hopper if I want to, but it's definitely considerably better. That was the one thing I didn't like the most. It worked perfectly fine for me. Never had a problem. I just didn't like the way it felt. So having it be, yeah, way more stable is for sure cool. Yeah. They're $235, $225 and $235, I should say. Those black ones right there are $235. And there's some other like colors that are $235. I think the solid red and that purple are going to be $225, so they're a little cheaper. It's actually expensive to make black stuff.